Hello, everyone, and welcome to Community Talk number 25. My name is Colson. I will be hosting today. We have an exciting agenda today filled with amazing segments and some wonderful community updates. We have a multitude of segments today, including the Graph India, updates from Tenderize, and a lot of stuff from the Graph BuildersDAO and Edge Notes. So please be seated. Before we get into those segments, I would like to share some community updates with you. So members of the Graph community are currently in Paris, and the Graph is sponsoring Eat Global Paris with $7,500 in prizes. There will be bounties for the best new subgraph or substream and the best use of an existing subgraph or substream. And there will also be a pool prize. The Graph was also a sponsor at Eat Global Waterloo. The team rocking the boot was made up of members from the Graph Foundation, Graph Advocates DAO, Graph Advocates, and members of Pinax. And the builders that were very excited to use the Graph in the project. In the end, 19 projects were submitted and $7,500 in prize were distributed. And I would like to give a special shout out to the team of Rolemate. One of them is here today, or multiple. And they will also show what they did a little bit later in the call. And they won the prize for the best new subgraph. So amazing. And also shout out to the team of Goose AI who made the best use of an existing subgraph. Pranav, who is an engineer at Edge Node, has recently written a blog post about account abstraction, and that blog post can be found on the website of thegraph.com/blog, and it's shared by Christine in the chat now as well. And Marcus, who is a DevRel at Edge Node, has recently published the sixth edition of the Graph Builders newsletter, and he's here today, and he will join us a little bit later as a segment to talk about what he's doing and give some updates on the work at Edge Node and about the Graph Builders newsletter. Four new episodes of the GRT IQ podcast were released. GRT IQ 122 features Julian, who is the founder and CEO at Unlock Protocol. And in that episode, he will tell you how Unlock Protocol empowers creators to monetize their content. And also, he was recently announced as a new Graph Council member. So that's definitely a podcast that you don't want to miss. GRT IQ 123 featured G.A. Flannery, who is helping lead the growth of Metrics DAO. GRT episode 124 features Anna from GraphOps. And in that episode, you will learn how Anna and GraphOps have made positive contributions to enhance the indexing experience at the Graph. We also had episode 125 with Sebastian, founder at Hopper, and Hopper is creating a private internet for everyone. So those were all of the new GRT IQ updates, podcast, and the links are shared by Christine in the chat. We also share them in the show notes of the recording. In addition to all of those episodes of the new GRT IQ podcast, the core dev updates for July were released by GraphOps, Semiotic, Mizari, Streaming Fast, Geo, the Guild, and Edge and Node. Those can be found on the Graph forum, and we will also be sharing the links with you here. We would also like to share that there was a Edge and Node panel in the House of Web3 about the Graph's L2 scaling journey. And luckily for us, that was recorded, and we are sharing the link with you here. And as our last community update, I would like to give a big shout out to Graph advocate Charles Freeborn, who represented the Graph at the Blockchain UNN conference, which was a conference that was co-sponsored by Graph Advocates DAO at the University of Nigeria. Charles and other Graph advocates did a great job at explaining Graph and the Graph Advocates program to students and developers, and they had a very busy booth. It was amazing, and we will share a link to that, to some pictures of it, and on Charles's Twitter. So we just posted that as well. And after these community updates, I would like to introduce our first speaker for the first segment, who is Charchit from the Graph India, who is going to tell you all about what he's doing and how the Graph India is going. So Charchit, take it away.
GM everyone, like once again, very good GM. So we are come up with the Graph India initiative. So I want to share you my screen. Okay. Yes, we are live. Can you see it? Just a small confirmation.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So hello everyone. We together with the foundation and advocates DAO, with their support and guidance, we have come up with the Graph India initiative. And today we are going to discuss about the introduction of it and its agenda, and what were the initiatives which we are going to take, and how we are going to complete those initiative in the form of roadmap and milestone. What were the work
George,
we are
I would love to see the updates, but I think you're sharing your Discord, not your slides.
oh, sorry.
No worries, you're good. But I
Hmm.
think it would be a lot more interesting if we can see the
Ah,
slides.
mhm. I'm not very handy with the Discord. I should be now, actually. Hmm. So yeah,
Yeah, there we go. Nice, amazing. We can
hmm,
see the slides now. Good.
thank you. So uh, we have come up from the foundation and the support of advocates DAO. We have come up with the initiative of the Graph India, and today, I want to tell you what is our agenda and introduction, what were the initiatives which we are going to take, and how we are going to achieve that with the roadmap and the milestone which we are targeting, what were the work we currently are doing, our solid team, and of course a thank you slide at the end. So basically our mission of the Graph India is to promote education, onboard more advocates, and facilitating Web 2 devs to Web 3 developers. And of course, after 2023, and in the year of 2024, we would be targeting slowly we would be targeting towards getting more delegators into our ecosystem. So the main purpose of the Graph India is to establish a local Graph Guru chapter. There, the Graph Guru person would be helping us in setting the logistics and helping and assisting us in the operation specifically for that local area or the local city. And the purpose of Graph Guru is also to establish a strong online presence for the graph, and as well as to foster education within our community, because currently what I can see is there is a big communication gap between the foundation and advocates and from the foundation and advocates DAO towards our community members here in India. I can see developers are not getting that resources and support from the foundation and advocate staff. So our task would also be to support the graph and advocate staff at the major events to ensure a better management and a better team flow and proper agent setting a proper agenda for the meetup or the workshop. And our duty is also to establish strategic partnership with key projects in India. Here the term strategic partnership in our sense means uh, both technical, any event or workshop, or getting people aware more towards our GRT token. Like right now currently we are in talk with CoinStore crypto exchange. So in all three domains we are planning to build strategic partnership which will foster and build a strong presence for the graph in India. So what coming to our initiatives. So we are just new. We just started a month ago approx, and our initiatives cover to set up a Graph Guru chapter. So earlier I just gave you some glimpse. So in a small brief or small one or two sentence, Graph Guru is basically a small local chapter, not exactly a chapter like Polygon Guilds, but we would be partnering with the local community, and there we would permanently set up one advocate, and he would be work as a graph guru there. So we get the community pre-built, we get all the most of the logistics pre-setted up by that community, and we would just be providing the content and of course some more education with the help of that graph guru, or in a aka graph advocate there. And currently our next initiative is currently graphathon. So this initiative is a 2 week challenge to for the graph community in India. There we have three challenges. The main motive of graphathon is to uh, quickly we set up our online presence for within India. And this initiative is currently going on, and today we are going to have its second Twitter space for the announcement of challenge one prices and distribution. And like I can say this initiative is already a success. Like it is not completed, we already got 70 followers within just within a span of 13 to 14 or 15 days. And like our next initiative is the bootcamp. So bootcamp was planned earlier by one of our advocate, and like now we are cooperating with every single grant coming up in India. Like we have more grants like marketing, and also I cannot include every single initiative in this slide, but yes, we are cooperating with every single grant coming from India. And also we just come up with an awesome initiative called Virtual College Connect. In this initiative, we are not going to apply for a separate grant, because it is super economically very friendly. And there we just need contacts and connects from that colleges or particular IT company or like a community. There we would just be giving a small session or brief intro about the graph. And like the orientation, it would be like a orientation. It would not be into coding, but still it would be into bit more technical side of it, so that people can really feel what is the graph and its use cases. And of course, at the end, partnering with Indian tech communities or Indian tech companies too in some of the cases. And we are also going to Web3 Conf, uh, and also we are talk with some of the communities there to establish to run local cohort for our community members. So what were the question comes like how we are going to achieve this, uh, and like what uh, what what were the things we are going to provide to the graph. Actually, that's the main question. So currently at the end of the year, we would be like setting up local graph guru chapters. And how we are going to achieve that setting of our logistics. So we would take help from the local networking meetups. And how we are going to get those people into our networking meetups. We would get those people from Graphathon. And also by building a strong online presence. Like strong online presence, if I explain you in a very few points, it would be from the virtual college connect, from the boot camp, and from the non-stop Twitter space we are getting. And all these things are going to foster a good education about Web3 and the graph. And I can say graph is a very everyone knows, I'm no one to say that graph is already a very good project, and lot of developers have faith in it. And uh, if we are able to set up a good fostering educative environment about the Web3 and the graph, we would get more developers from India. Because even though our communication is not very clear within India, but still many developers, good developers are coming up using the graph as a technology, and building subgraph for the dApps and all. So of course, I told, we would be having a college connect. So the coming to our current work, like right now, as I said, like the communication gap is there. So we set it up different WhatsApp group for our Indian advocates, and there we encourage them to go towards the DAO and engage with we have Colson, we have Christina, and we have many good DAO members. Like we to get guidance from them, and guidance in terms of how they can build something of graph content creation, and become an event evangelist. Like it could help them to kickstart their career in Web3 also. This thing is I personally feel is very important, because the Graph Advocate program is very good in itself, and our we need to fulfill that communication gap. And we also conducted some of the Twitter space, and there the highest number is 177 people tuned in, 75 were the live listener. And the content of Twitter space was so good that 40 people just straightforwardly followed our Twitter account. And the content is related to how you can get into Web3 foundership, and how you can leverage the support from the Graph Foundation, and as well as the Graph Advocate staff. So many good builders were there. Even Derek was also there, and Abhay from Dap Looker in India was also there. And also we have our initiative Graphathon, which I talked earlier. we also sponsor one of the largest uh, uh, hackathon in eastern part of India, which is which named as Hack for Bengal, and it was a decent event. We went there, we engaged with a lot of developers there, and there were of course many developers who have already used the graph into their project. And currently the virtual college connect and the bootcamp are in the planning phase, and on these two things I can only give update like within 5 days or like 6 days. So this is the summary of our work in 28 days. I feel it should be more, it could be more, but slowly we are going to gain traction into the Indian market. And then, of course, like it's a good project, and people will definitely believe in the graph. Like many people are already there, but slowly with our work, we can get more traction in it. And like getting this project into the market requires a really strong team. And you can see we have Yash Jagtap, Megabyte, and Ujjwal. Like these people are already a leader in Indian Web3 ecosystem. Like Yash Jagtap is leading Polygon Guild Pune. Megabyte is leading Polygon lead Jaipur, and the Polygon Jaipur is one of the biggest guild throughout the world, not just India or just like a particular region in India. It is biggest guild throughout the world. And we have Subgraph Dev. He is already a graph grantee, and he is the one behind the boot camp and online presence. So here I would be working as a community manager India. Earlier, I had worked with Helix, growth department of Helix, and there I onboarded clients such as OKX, Chili's, and Demo. That experience was really good, and there I built real business for them. So this is us. This is our solid team, and thank you everyone for coming here and listening to me. Like most of the points are really very boring to listen, and of course if you want to see our work, you can always come up and follow our main Graph India Twitter page, and there you can be directly engaging with us. So please follow us and come to our Twitter space, which is going to be uh, held within 30 minutes. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for all of those updates, and I would love to see you back in a couple of months to see how everything progressed and better learn about what you guys are doing. So thank you so much, Sarjit. Up next, we're gonna have Marcus, who has joined Node quite some time ago, and he is doing some amazing efforts there. One of them is the Graph Builders newsletter, who is gonna talk about now and about his other efforts as well. And after that, we will have Derek, who will talk about Graph Builders now. And I know Marcus is also involved in that, so he can do a segue into that as well. So, Marcus, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Paulson. And how is everyone doing today? Hope you're all doing well. It is an honor to be talking with everyone. I've been around this community, involved in this community for a long time. Being growing and deeper. I really appreciate everyone here and moving forward together is really important. And I like to collaborate. And in that name, what I'm doing a lot of is trying to find better ways to communicate with developers. My role as developer relations is to have relations with developers that are sweet and helpful and really providing them with the value in a short amount of time as possible. So, hope it's a bit tough to hear me. Okay, sorry, let me change location. I'm, I'm in a conference right now, so let me. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we can.
Fire over here.
Maybe it's your microphone as well. Can you switch mic or your mobile?
And it's the best I've got. So I'm literally walking into a little cave here. Let's see if this is better. Hello, hello.
Better for a
Hey,
second, but then it started cutting
yeah,
out.
it kind of cutting out for a bit.
Okay, is that better right there?
Oh, we can hear you better now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, let's just try this. So yeah, a lot of what I'm doing is communicating with developers and making sure they have a excellent experience using everything but Graph. So let's go ahead and share my screen and kind of just go through briefly the Builders newsletter. And just if anyone here has yet to subscribe to the Builders newsletter, please go ahead and do so. They're not letting me share right now. Let's try this one more time. If I can't share it, I'll just put a link in the description. Yeah, it's not letting me share right now. That's okay. I'll put a link in the description, and you guys are free to go through the Graph Builders newsletter. What I'm trying to do is communicate to all developers who are using the graph in a highlighted way. You say, hey, if there's anything that is useful for those that are building on the graph, please go through this newsletter and we'll have simple items that allow people who are building on the graph to really not have to stay directly on the pulse of the graph because, my goodness, there's a lot of things going on at all times. So if there's anyone out there who you know is building using the graph, I would ask a favor of everyone here to send out this blog and just say, hey, there's a little link at the top. Please subscribe to this newsletter to get your developer focused information really, really rapidly. And also, a few other things that I've been working on. I'm assisting with the Graph Builders blog, which is separate from the Graph Builders newsletter. The Graph Builders blog had its inaugural post a few weeks ago, detailed technical dive into using subgraphs, and that's really, really proud of that. Working with that developer at Rubicon Finance. And also, I'm working on multiple workshops at any given time. I've given 2 workshops thus far, and I'm giving another one on Friday. Just a lot of relations, just trying my very best to have developers have as good of an experience as possible. And this is also a question to anyone out there. Feel free to reach out to me either on Twitter or through Discord here. But I want to know where your pain points are, specifically if you are building with the developer for the tooling of the Graph CLI, the Graph Node, if you're running anything through the graph and there's any pain points whatsoever, please let me know because that would be fantastic for me to understand where you're having difficulties and I'd be happy to help out. Is my audio still bad? I'm sorry, the Wi-Fi here is rough. I'm at a conference right now and it is not great.
You
Yeah,
kind of understand you. It's a bit rough sometimes, but you are
oh,
audible, so it's clear.
I wish I could take a photo of myself right now. I'm literally hiding in like almost underground right now, trying to get away from so many people. But anyways, that's about all that's going on. The small ask, like I said, from everyone here is that if you know any developers, send them the developer newsletter so they can get really accurate information quickly. And also, if there's any pain points or anything that people would like to know out there more about the graph and have better education, let me know. That is my job, and I want to make that communication as effective as possible with everybody. So thank you for lending me your ears and your time, and I'll send it back to Colton.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Up next, we are going to have Derek, who is going to give us a lot of updates about the Graph BuildersDAO. Derek, take it away.
Perfect. Can you guys all hear me okay?
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, yeah. So we launched the Graph BuildersDAO officially, and you guys might have remembered we've talked about the Subgraph DAO in the past. We kind of rebranded a little bit to make the DAO's name a little bit more service agnostic, since we'll be building substreams and all the multitude of things that we'll be doing with a graph, especially as we start to include more services. So went from the subgraph DAO over to the Graph Builders DAO. We were stuck in legal land for quite some time, and we finally got all that pushed through, and now we've finally launched, which is very exciting. So I wanted to pop in here and just kind of give a little intro in terms of what is the DAO, and how can each of you guys interface with a DAO, and in what in various capacities. So the builders DAO, you can essentially think of this as like a union of subgraph and substream developers. So if there's a protocol, maybe they're a newer protocol and they're like, hey, I need to get something built. We currently have nothing, so it's going to be a bottom up build. One of the pain points that we found is that initially, if they pop into the Graph's Discord server, they might be able to find a developer that has bandwidth, or maybe they can't find a developer that has bandwidth. because there's kind of these ebbs and flows where all of a sudden, you start off, you get 0 projects that you're working on, and pretty soon you got 3, and you're like, oh, I can't take on a 4th, right? And so bandwidth management is it's a real thing in the developer world. And so we wanted to create kind of this union of people to where people could go to that entity and say, hey, I want to hire someone, and then we can leverage everyone's bandwidth and kind of balance out workloads across developers and make sure that people are make sure that builders have plenty of work to do, make sure that consumers are properly getting serviced rapidly, and we procure them as a consumer inside the ecosystem. And the builders DAO is kind of the centralizing, or the central marketplace where someone can go and find a developer. One of the other big issues that we aimed to overcome is that sometimes you would have this problem where someone would build a subgraph for you, and your protocol runs, and down the road you start to introduce new features that aren't yet incorporated into your subgraph, right? Because they're brand new, they're released after the subgraph was released. And so maybe you just have some tweaks that you want to get made, right? And they could be small, but you want to start listening to those events and whatever's happening in the contract. But you can't get in touch with the guy that initially built your subgraph. So that's another problem that the DAO aims to solve is, if someone has little feature tweaks or things that they want to change, or little optimizations or whatever, they can go to the DAO, and the DAO can fork the repo, submit a PR and get something incorporated for them. So the members of the DAO is largely people that are going to be building subgraphs, building substreams, right? Really kind of that builder focus, as well as a couple of admin roles that we have, to just support the DAO entity. But the and so that's kind of the DAO members, right? But you don't necessarily need to be a DAO member in order to interface with the DAO. For example, we offer a 5%, call it a finder's fee for anyone that connects the DAO up to a protocol. If the protocol wants a subgraph built, and you say, hey, you should contact the builders DAO, I can intro you to some of the guys over there. You create a group chat with me and them, and we start to figure out, all right, how are we going to build this thing? Then the DAO will pay you a 5% fee, and you don't have to build anything. You just have to help us connect protocol to developer, right? So that's something that everyone can do. We really want to get our names out there as being some of the most trusted subgraph developers and the most reliable. If you look through Discord, pretty much anyone that's offering some semblance of subgraph developer support is in the DAO. And so we have a really killer team that will be able to service a whole multitude of different needs. So that's just kind of like a basic intro. I definitely want to get people thinking with the builders DAO, and so that in the event that you guys do come across something that needs to be done, toss it our way. We'll make sure that they're well serviced. We'll make sure that we help them with their app and all their data needs, and you get paid for it. So that's aligning incentives. So that's kind of the quick little spiel. We'll have a few more things coming pretty soon in terms of how different ways that we intend to work with migrating subgraphs from the hosted service over to the decentralized network. That's an area that we want to partake in. And if that's something that you want to help with, reach out to me, and we'll have a bit more of an idea of what that program will look like pretty soon here. But yeah, that's largely what I had. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to one of the other DAO members, join our Discord server, all that good stuff. And I appreciate the time to chat with everyone. And
Thank you so much.
Colson, I'll pass it back to you.
Yep, amazing. Thank you so much for that explanation. And Polly just shared the link to the Discord in the chat as well. So if you're not in the Graph BuildersDAO Discord, you can go to the chat and click on the link that Polly shared. So thank you so much, Derek. Up next, we're gonna have Tenderize, who have been on the on this call a few times before, and they have some cool updates about liquid staking for GRT. So I would like to invite Alec to talk about it.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the intro, Coulson, and thank you for moderating this great event. So before I get into it, let me just do a quick introduction. So what we're building here are a couple different new use cases for GRT, specifically use cases that live 100% on-chain, and they're decentralized finance use cases. And the one that we're most excited about is the liquid staking of GRT. And just for background, we earned a GRT grant in Wave 2, and we built our first proof of concept of this design. And that was living on Ethereum Layer 1, and it's got about 1.2 million TVL in it today. But we're super excited to roll out our version 2, and that's going to live on Arbitrum, fresh after the migration. So everything I'm about to talk about is all going to live 100% on Arbitrum. And before I start, let me first ask, how many indexers are in this group right now? Would you be willing to throw up a hand? I see you, Derek. Or it may just be you today. So, okay, good to know. I won't focus all of this on from an indexer perspective. But before we get into what the product is, let me just introduce myself. I'm Alec. I'm the CEO of Tenderize. Through and through, I'm a DeFi guy. I've even called myself a DeFi degen at times. So that's my background. It's not TradFi. I've been working on DAOs for 3 years. And this was right after I graduated. And when I went to university, I started the blockchain lab at Marquette University in the Midwest, Wisconsin, here in the States. And there I studied finance and econ. And the last project I've been working on was SpareX USD. It lives on Arbitrum, and it's an auto-yielding stablecoin product. We saw over 40 million TVL. We got a nice juicy ARB allocation of 2 million ARB, and we just got our governance token listed on Coinbase. So moral of the story, this isn't our first rodeo when it comes to DeFi solutions. And with that being said, let me show you a couple slides off a deck, and then I'll actually show you a quick demo of the product. So I think that you all can see my screen now.
Yep.
Awesome. So as mentioned, we're building liquid staking for GRT. And the unique approach that we're taking is one where the solution is 100% permissionless. So what I mean by that is we're actually an infrastructure solution, and we live 100% on-chain, and we never, under any circumstance, would custody any user assets. So with that being said, we call it liquid staked DeFi 2.0. In other words, liquid native staking. And we have an inclination that the current liquid staking solutions of today are actually centralizing underlying networks. And we really don't want that for the Graph ecosystem. Because frankly, the Tenderize team deeply cares about decentralization and censorship resistance. And if we don't have those attributes, maybe the value of our chain is going to be diminished over time. And if you look at a couple of the liquid staking ecosystems today, like we have Ethereum, the most flourishing one right here, we still only have 36% participation. And then you look at Matic with 6%, you can get down to GRT. We're only at, less than 0.12% of all of the staked GRT being utilized in DeFi. So it's like all these Ethereum guys are like looping up their stake, earning all of this yield, loaning their staked positions, and some other ecosystems are frankly left out. And what's interesting is if you look into the Ethereum ecosystem a little bit, and you look at some of the liquid staking 1.0 products, they have some problems. Like if you're an indexer and you wanted to offer liquid staking, say you wanted to use a model like Rocket Pool, you'd have to share the risk with other indexers, meaning that if someone was delegated to you and a different indexer got some sort of slashing penalty, all of the users in the ecosystem would have to pay for that one indexer who's misbehaving. And then 2, say you want to launch your own liquid stake token specific for your indexer. Then the indexer has to figure out how to make that thing liquid on chain, which is extremely expensive. And Lido has to pay over $1 million a month in cash in the form of their LDO token, but $1 million worth just to incentivize the liquidity. So it becomes super expensive if an indexer wants to launch their own liquid stake token. And then 3, a lot of solutions are being spun up that have validator whitelists. And we don't think that's the solution either, because validator whitelists centralize the underlying network. So what the heck is being built that can solve these things? And that's where Tenderize comes into play. And our whole theory here is we must allow for indexers to restake their position into DeFi apps or lend out their position in such a way that doesn't compromise on the decentralization of the underlying indexer set. So the key thing I'm trying to communicate here is that we're building a liquid stake token that is individual to each and every indexer. So what I mean by that is if someone were to delegate to Data Nexus, it would spin up a Data Nexus specific liquid stake token. And the same goes for when you want to get out of the position. We have a community liquidity pool that is available for anyone that wants to swap the liquid stake token back to the unstaked asset. So let me show you real fast what I mean by that. So again, like I mentioned, instead of having one liquid stake token that a bunch of random indexers or validators would hold the stake for, this is kind of like the Lido approach. Instead, if I'm a user and I head to Tenderize front end and I have my GRT, first thing I want to do is I want to stake it. Okay, so I'm going to go select the indexer of my choice. So this is very different than the Lido approach, right? Because in Lido, you just mint your ST ETH, and then all of a sudden it just goes into a black hole. Your ETH disappears. But instead, with the Tenderize approach, what we do is we allow the user to select which indexer they'd like to delegate to. Let's just say they want to delegate to Data Nexus. Let's go 1,000 to Data Nexus. Okay, brilliant. Boom. Now we've staked the 1,000 GRT. And we have our GRT right up here. This is our balance. And unlike a traditional staked position, any delegator who stakes through Tenderize can now use this TGRT and they can go do stuff with their TGRT. So they can do a couple different stuff in DeFi. For example, we're going to have a lending and borrowing facility, meaning that any indexer or their delegators can actually use that TGRT as collateral, take a loan against it, and then use that loan to either buy more TGRT to double the yield. Sure, there's risk involved. Or they could go like delta neutral and borrow some TGRT to sell and go short. Moral of the story, what we can do with this TGRT is pretty much any DeFi strategy that's currently being utilized by the Stake Deep community. So something really exciting and worth noting is even if you don't want to do any of that like leverage stuff or take loans against your stake or anything, we are going to have a governance token, meaning that after you stake your GRT through Tenderize to whichever indexer you wish, you'll earn both the native staking yield plus a bonus paid in our governance token. And the important thing to note here is that this is a totally permissionless solution, meaning that if you're running an indexer or if you're a delegator and you have a preferred indexer that you like, they're automatically going to be listed on the platform. And there's no ability for the Tenderize team to say no to people that want to join. There's no ability for us to say, hey, we're only going to give stake to one partner. This is kind of like Lido, where you have no say where the stake goes. It's really supposed to be as close to the native staking experience as possible. But once you stake, you simply have a receipt token. And that receipt token represents your stake plus all your rewards. And you can do a lot of cool stuff with that. And that's really what we want to build for the GRT ecosystem. And I'm sure that you may be thinking, well, okay, I'm going to be holding this token, this TGRT token. But what happens if I can't swap it back for my GRT? I don't want to get left holding the bag, because that has happened with staked ETH. Some people own staked ETH, it depegs, and then you kind of get screwed a little bit. But that's not possible in the Tenderize approach, because what's really cool is you can actually have two different options. So first, you can do the instant unlock, which is the actual swapping process. So as I mentioned before, we have a shared liquidity pool that anyone can swap TGRT through. And depending on how much that pool is utilized, meaning if there's a lot of swapping happening at one point, then you may not get a one-to-one swap for your TGRT. But in the event that there's not many swaps happening, you will get nearly one-to-one minus a very small fee. And then let's just say, hypothetically, there's like a bank run and everyone's panicking. You don't even have to go through that exit pool. You can simply wait for the traditional unstaking period. So it's really cool because it's not like staked ETH where you may get left holding the bag. You can always traditionally unstake your assets. So I just want to reiterate one more time. You can always exit two different ways. One, through our shared liquidity pool, and that will be instant, and it'll cost a little fee. Or you can do it one-to-one, and all you have to do is simply wait for the unbonding period. So that is the solution that we're building. And as I've mentioned a couple of times, the best part about our product is it's totally permissionless, so we can't tell anyone no. But we are partnering with some validators. And some validators have expressed interest in wanting liquid staking for some of their delegators, or even to use in-house. And for those groups, so basically, if you're a large validator or you are staking GRT, you have the option of joining us as a launch partner. And as a launch partner, what you'll do is earn your share of 3% of our total supply of our governance token. So we do want to align strategically with people that deeply care about GRT, the asset. And we really don't want the initial liquidity providers to be, DeFi users that just want to come in, farm the token, and dump it, because it doesn't. Couple things. One, it produces selling pressure for our governance token, but also it produces fake investors into GRT. Because what that would produce is a DeFi user who sees the rewards, they go, oh, what I can do is I can buy some GRT, I can stake it for 6 months, and then I can sell it after I collect my rewards. But we don't want that. We want to get our token in the hands of proper GRT power users. And the best power user, we believe, are the indexers and their community of delegators. So I know that I've introduced a lot of information on this, but I'd love to pass it off to Derek just to hear from the perspective of one of the validators that are partnering with us on launch. So Derek, I apologize if I gave a lot of info and any of it you wanted to talk about, but I'll pass it off to you if you want to add anything.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of things that I personally am really excited about, with this opportunity. And on Data Nexus's end, it works really well for our business model, just in how our company specifically handles some of our finances, and that we're already redelegating a majority of the indexing rewards that we earn. So rather than redelegating it, we can instead use something like Tenderize, just because the workflow is already there. But the things that I'm really excited about is looking at like most liquid staking protocols. You kind of remove a big portion of what the role of a delegator should be doing. right? Delegators are intended to be able to help decentralize stake. They do their research in figuring out who's a good indexer, who's aligned with the ecosystem, who's producing well, and all that type of stuff. And with most other staking solutions that are not validator or indexer specific, you kind of just forego that, and it becomes like, okay, where can I just make some profit, right? And so this type of a system is far more aligned of how we're going to grow the graph network, and how delegators are going to be able to continue to provide value while also enabling certain freedoms, right? So that aspect is something that I feel is very aligned with the network. And the other thing that we run into as an indexer is we've had contact with different delegators who want to wish that they could have delegated with us, or wish that they could have delegated with another indexer. And that 28 day or 28 epoch thaw is, it's not short. And so there is a lot of friction just in the overall experience of like, okay, well, what happens if you delegated and you found out you made the wrong decision, or this person's not paying attention, or they're not providing value? And so with something like Tenderize, it'll be a very seamless transition to say, hey, rather than staking with Data Nexus because those guys are lazy, I want to go switch it over to someone else, or whatever, right? Using ourselves as the bad guy example. Obviously, we pay close attention to our indexer. But that functionality is something that's definitely needed in our network, and we were really excited and to be one of the people to speak up and be like, hey, we want this, and we intend to start bootstrapping the TGRT Data Nexus, but we also want to help bootstrap some of the other indexers, and we'll likely start providing some delegation to some other indexers. That way we can start to see that swap economy start, so that delegators can move around when they desire. So yeah, that's just kind of my take on it. If anyone has questions or whatever, you can reach out to me, but I would first reach out to the Tenderize team.
Hey, thank you so much, Derek. That was very helpful. And then my final concluding statement is, as you know, it's a permissionless solution. So please stay in the loop when it comes to our Twitter. Shoot us a follow. It's Tenderize_me. That's where most of our content will be posted. And then August 1st, we're posting all the documentation, including the white paper, a new website, video explainer, all that jazz. So please stay in the loop. And two more benefits: you can also manage a stake from multiple indexers from one wallet or one multi-sig. So it makes a lot of the operational complexities a little bit smoother. And then finally, if you're an indexer yourself and you have delegators that want to use liquid staking, this is a infrastructure solution that allows you to retain those delegations while still satisfying their need for liquid staking. So deliver liquid staking without sending your delegations to other hardware with Tenderize. All right, I'll stop rambling. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, and reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Alec, and thank you so much, Derek, for helping out as well. And we would definitely love to have you back on if there are any more updates, or if there are any cool stuff that you would like to show us. So make sure to send us a message if you would like another segment. For our last segment today, we're gonna have a presentation from the team of Rolla Mate, who won the best new subgraph at Eat Waterloo. Your name is very hard to pronounce, I think, so I'm not going to try it, but you can take it off.
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Well,
we can hear you.
my name is. Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
Oh, okay, it is. We thought that yesterday. We thought we were wrong.
Are you
Well, good.
talking?
Nice to meet you.
I'm here with Arthur.
Hi, how are you?
We are live from Paris now, and there is Eric on the connection also from Mexico. We are in Paris. I'm originally from Uruguay, and Arthur from Mexico. So okay, we are the full team here. I will try to. Well, I don't see it now. I was going to share my screen, but the option disappeared from the here appear again. Okay, so you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, sorry for my English. It's not perfect. I do my best. Well, we are Rola Mate. We made a solution in Eat Waterloo that we decided to continue the project to start making well the development of the whole idea and going to the market. We are working on that. So we needed and we were very well supported by the Graph team on the hackathon. And also after the hackathon, and we continue in contact and working and trying to improve this. We were today in Encode House in here in Paris, a great experience. We were there talking with many of the Graph that now we can call friends, maybe Web3 friends. So okay, Rollamate is a Ethereum mainnet mempool based rollups. It's a payment protocol that is for sending money gasless to 4 cents cost per transaction. Basically, we are trying to solve the problem of using centralized exchanges that are needed because they have no fees or very low fees for transfer between users. And for the mass adoption, the scalability and the payment used for merchants is very good, really. Use centralized exchanges, but we need to solve this using decentralized solutions. So what we did, the scenario before was the businesses asking payments on Binance in Argentina, Venezuela, Nigeria, Vietnam, Turkey, El Salvador. That is many businesses using crypto, not because they are geeks or tech adopters, is because their local currency is not reliable as they wish. So they prefer to use stable coins or even Ethereum. So now with Rollamate, what we did is the crypto businesses can charge in crypto using a mainnet transactions, and the users will be happy to use it with Rollamate. So how do we make this? Well, so we are using the mempool. We are leveraging the mempool that is free to use, is validated because to be on a pending transaction, it has to be validated from the queue by a node, so the signature, the structure, and everything is correct. It's a source of truth. It's not unique because it's not stored. It's just a temporary, like a RAM memory. And the drop doesn't exist. That this many people talk about dropping transactions or transactions that get without gas. This is myths. This is not happening. And also is easy to leach. We say this because it was a hackathon and it's cool, but we want to also give back all the processing and the memory that we are using. So here is how we use the graph. We found in the graph, well, one of the purposes is also to save gas on transactions, capturing this from the blocks, usually through a subgraph, but we went deeper and we wanted to avoid also using events in the smart contract deposit functions. So we made a substream. Uh, we started with this proof of concept. First, we make a subgraph. Once it worked with the event, we remove the event to save an extra 10% of gas, and we use a substream to capture the information in the block, and then we consume this substream, and then consuming our own substream, we get this information without an event, that is the deposits that the user have to make to the mainnet smart contract, because to spend money you have to make a deposit, and this is a confirmed transaction. So graph here is for us is very useful, and is the solution that we need to read the blocks in a reliable source, and this is consumed by an oracle. For the hackathon, we used UMA oracle, but this could be other options by the implementations of each user. So this is written in a sidechain, the balances, and that's how we use the mempool, but we are using any sidechain or layer 2 or layer 3 today to store these balances. In the future, we have different plans to make the beta versions and maybe the production version, but this is enough for showing the proof of concept and an alpha version. So then when happens a transfer, now as the graph is not reading the mempool, we can't, well, yet, we don't know in the future what will happen. We use another API that is block native. In this case, in the future, we will have our own nodes that we can read the transactions on the mempool and capture them, and through an oracle, we can write it in the Gnosis balance. These transactions are gasless to 4 cents because they are configured in some way that are valid to be included in the pending of the mempool, but the gas configuration is so low that it's almost impossible to be processed unless the gas go extremely low, something that will be cool, and you will be paying the gas that will be at most 4 cents and will be processed the transaction, but isn't needed to the meta protocol of Rollamate that just capture the transactions on the mempool and make rollups from the mempool to a sidechain. And then for withdrawing, we need again to make a confirmed transaction to the mainnet smart contract. So we make A, B, C, D, any user that has some balance on the sidechain contract will request to the mainnet smart contract that this user wants to withdraw one ETH in example, and if there is a balance, he will get the balance. So this is how we make it. It's a hack of the mempool, a white hat hack, and well, without the graph, this will be more expensive for sure, and also more difficult to confirm the transactions that we need, saving a lot of gas. So this is the presentation. I hope you like it, and if you have any question.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that explanation. And after that, it's right on top of the hour, so we're gonna end it here. Before you go, I would like to remind you that a little bit later on today, there will be a new edition of Indexer Office Hours, so I hope to see everyone there. And if you have any cool segments for our next community talk, make sure to hit us up in the Discord so we can host you on a segment. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you all to all the speakers, and I hope to see you again next month. Bye bye.